Hello folks, LA here, and this is your weekly TA wrap where we take a look at these markets and we do it from a neoclassical perspective, each time asking ourselves what happened this week and what does it tell us about the coming ones. Do this show once a week, every Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And today though we're doing it live, early, recording early Sunday morning actually, going to be out this evening, so live show early this morning, be recorded for you for your viewing pleasure, so bear with me. Sometimes the schedules change around. Last week had a nice week. Markets consolidated. A nice week in the sense that they tried to break these things down, but they consolidated, so you can see the weekly change. Really not much there. On the year, still clawing higher, and if you look at it from the perspective of the charts, you can't argue with what's happening. Last week you actually had the IXIC push up, pushing those highs, and the good thing about that is you can walk over and look at the weekly, which is what we want to look at here. Weekly pushing up, breaking, volume there expands, confirmed breakout over the highs. That's the kind of action you want to see. So now if you think back about what we've been watching, right, you've got a breakout here. You've already got the breakout in other places, other indexes, shall I say. INDX is already broken out. SPX already broken out. And these are the weeklies. The Dow and the Russell are the ones that are still struggling to get higher. Dow's got a nice breakout as well. So the last one that hasn't broken out yet is the Russell. The Russell's trying to get back up to the highs. Russell's dealing with the last breakdown bar. Top there is 1196.70. We're at 1189.50. I would be very surprised if it doesn't attack and at least get over it. Now, if you watched this show before, you know a lot of times the way this happens and the way it has happened previously at highs is the Dow has made it to the highs and then broken down. And so what I want to show you, I'm going to pull back over to the Dow chart. I think we still have an example here. Yeah, like here. So if you were to go back and look at all the charts, you would see this swing point high, and this is July last year. You would see this swing point high, a push up to that high, and then that's when you get a sell off, you come back up. The Dow was the only one that was trailing and hadn't broke out yet. And what it looked like is that the market was going to wait until the Dow tested before it sold off. All the other indexes were at highs. Dow slowly works its way back up there. I don't know if it's slowly. It's one of those V-shaped things that we see so often, right? So another V-shaped move back up. And what does it do? As soon as it tests, fails, right? That's the failure, and then this thing sells off again. The rest of the market did the same. That's kind of what it looks like over in the Russell. Now, I don't know if it's going to play out that way, but that's one thing you have to keep in mind. You have another V-shaped reversal. This is, and we'll put it back on the weekly. Let's go to the weekly on the Russell. You got another V-shaped reversal taking place here. So on the Russell, it comes down, right? Coming back. Everything else is already broken out. That high is up here, still waiting to be tested. You're trying to get over this breakdown bar. Looks like it's going to get at least in to test that. Volumes are pretty good here, so I suspect it will test, probably break, test that top, and that might be where we see the next sell-off emanate from. And that's on the Russell. Of course, the Russell's been a nice tool in terms of using to determine where this market's going. This week is chock full of data. I mean, lots and lots of data. If you go over and you look at the data points, you're going to find PMIs. You got the ISM, the PMI manufacturing. There's all kinds of data points coming out this week, and then you got the earnings season kicking off as well. So a lot of data. That's going to be a lot of data that's pressing this market one way or the other, and how it presses and what it does is going to definitely be a big factor in the way this market trades this week. Technically, index-wise, it's set up to push even higher. And if you look at the sectors are too. We can pop through a few of them here. Here's the IYT hanging at the highs. If you look at the SOX came off, but still hanging at the highs on a weekly. We're looking at weekly basis here. XLB was pressing the highs, still hanging at the highs. The XLE came off the highs, but still hanging at the highs on a weekly basis. And just everywhere you go, XLI doing a retest regen on the daily. Here it is, coming back lower volume on the weekly. XLK still pressing the highs. XLV is over the highs. Right, here's another one that's broken out. XLY is coming up to try to get to the highs again and test them. XLU is pressing highs. Right, it's already over them. And you just keep going down the list. It's one after another after another. They all keep pressing. They all keep showing us the strength. The only one that's been weak is the XLP. Even there, on a weekly basis, still at the highs, and the all important financials at the highs too. So I can't see anything on the sectors that looks that worrisome. When I look elsewhere, aux markets, for example, if we go look at the TLT's pressing back up to try to test this area one more time. Volume flows don't look right. It looks to me like that one's going to come back down. If so, that's probably bullish for the market. The only thing that looks worrisome is gold and silver. I think it's more technically driven in these markets. They had a nice push up. They're into their resistance zone. They can push higher. They have had a pretty good push already, but they're looking pretty strong. Silver also. So if there's worry, it's worry that the geopolitical situation is driving a safety drive to this sort of a sector. But everywhere else, I mean, I can't see anything wrong. If I look overseas, overseas has the same sort of scenario. So let me pop in, grab those symbols, and if we look through those guys, nothing there either. I mean, let's look at, let's start with like Hong Kong, for example. Here's the weekly. It's pressing up, trying to break out over these two swing point highs. Now, the bad thing about this is you got up there, you already had a pretty big run. You got up there and you got weakness coming back, but look at the long tail on this chart. This thing wants to go higher, even with that pullback. The more interesting tell, of course, is China. And again, we've got a lot of data coming out this week. China pulled back, left a tail as well. And you can imagine what, I don't need to probably tell you this, but on each of these cases, you have the potential now for ABCD structures on the upside. That's true here, it's true elsewhere. It comes back up, didn't quite get to that high. It's going to try to push over it, and if so, it's going to get a boost, right, with an ABCD structure if it starts pressing higher and higher. So I don't see anything bad there. If we go over to Europe, we got big news coming out of Europe this week. We've got the Thursday, the ECB is going to do its thing. So Europe pulls back. Now here's an interesting case. I don't bemoan the classical folks that much, but you get this. That's a quote-unquote break, right? But look at your volume tails, right? You've got almost all your volume tails to the upside. Yeah, so you got to pull back. What does it come on? Lighter volume. What's it coming into? Well, this support zone. What is that support zone anchored by? Well, it's anchored by this big bar. It's anchored in particular by that bar, this area here. That's going to be hard to break it down when you're coming down with that much volume, right? You can see the volume difference. Yeah, they're selling it. Is it a huge sell? No. Had resistance up there on a very much longer term basis if you go back, but it holds, right, in terms of the sell-off. This thing's going to flip around, try to go back up. Is the ECB going to cause that? Maybe so. And if I look at the strongest one in that region, which is the DAX, it's a totally different story. Nice volume pushes. Again, look at your volume tails. Nice pushes as it comes on this bar on the upside, right? Volume presses to the upside. Yeah, this has got that same sort of scenario, and one could say it's breaking, right? but I'd be very surprised if it's really breaking. You're coming back to test do a retest regen off of this high. It is coming back within 6 bars, so there is the potential that it could get lower, but the volume tells don't suggest that. Matter of fact, you're coming into this bar and look at your difference in volume. And unless the ECB really surprises and says something negative, you're going to see these markets work higher, not lower. And that's just the way they're set up. So I wouldn't discount the fact that the European markets and the Asian markets are actually set up to try to work higher, not lower. And that's probably going to give us some strength as well. Look at the Taiwanese market. Folks, I mean, these pushes, and although this one is extended now, these pushes, they're real. I mean, they're not anything to look back at and say, oh, it can't go any farther. I mean, this one's extended. Yeah, it should come back and test a little bit, but look at your volume tells. If it does, it's going to find support in here, and it's going to be another buy. And that's true almost everywhere you look. So over and over and over, when you look at these markets, you know, are they extended? Yes. Can they pull back? Absolutely. Will they pull back? Well, maybe in due time. If we look at the MTTFs, we know they're extended, right? They have been. They continue to be on the longer term because we haven't had a correction in 2 years. Honestly, we haven't had a correction in 2 years. Short term can go higher, and that's what it looks like it wants to do. And let me pull that, take this now and pull this back up and look at it on a monthly. We don't pull the monthlies up that often, but look at the monthly. This is the NASDAQ composite, the broad composite. When was your last retrace of any significance? Way back here. That's 2011, right? You peaked in May of 2011. You got to pull back as late as October before it took off. That was a peak to trough. You had 2887 down to 22 or 23 roughly. So you had 500 off the index. Index was 2287. 500 into that. That's a pretty good pullback. 17, 18%, whatever the number amounts to. And ever since then, okay, take October. Ever since then, you've had a bull run higher. That's 2 years straight up, basically. And you've had 1.5 years of absolutely no give up. And now what have you done on a monthly basis? You've actually consolidated, right? And I wouldn't be surprised after this kind of run that you get more consolidation. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised that now that this is consolidation up here, and you can see the time frame. Now if we switch to the weekly, I wouldn't be surprised to see the weeklies actually reset at some point. Where's that point? Well, right now it's down at these swing point lows. In other words, to reset that MTTF, to reset this, you need to break a swing point low. Well, now you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars. This is a potential swing point low. Where is it? Right at support. Now how many bars do you have past it? 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more weeks of up, which is very possible, will actualize this bar and make it a swing point low right here, this bar. What does that do? Well, a retrace into it, and there's not much volume on it, a retrace into it that breaks it would reset that MTTF and give this market even more life going forward. So you can't just say that this market has to pull back, right, because it's going up so much. At some point, yes, but this is a different world we're in. The central bankers are pressing this and have been pressing this and aren't finished. You've got the ECB starting up again. You got Japan continuing. You got China that won't give it up. The only one that's taken the foot off the pedal, the only ones, us with our tapering, the US, Great Britain suggesting it. Everybody else keeps flooding the markets. At some point it will end, but we don't know what that is. We just have to keep reading the tea leaves, and the tea leaves tell us, at least this week, it looks like it's going to try to go higher. Folks, thanks for joining me. Thanks for tuning in. I'll leave it at that. That is your weekly TA Wrap. Have yourself a great week. Again, the show was recorded 7:30 in the morning on Sunday. Won't be around this evening, so have a great week. And I'll see you. If you're a member, I'll be talking to you this week. If you're not, well, think about joining us. It's not too late. Have a great one. Take care. Good night, folks.